This is a big box for a little pedal.
Have you ever looked at all the gear musicians use and wonder, how does it all work? My name's Dustin, and my family and I are setting out on a quest to inspire both adult and kid musicians to create new sounds together and learn all about what it takes to produce great music. We'd like to invite you along on the journey as we explore the gear professional studios, musicians, and hobbyists use to create their art. We'll take a close-up look at the gear and ask,
What's this button do?
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of What's This Button Do? I'm your host, Dustin. Today, we are going to be looking at an amazing new product, the Opus from our friends at Two Notes. Now, this I got very excited about. I found out about it about a week ago, placed an order for it. It came in the mail last night, and I was absolutely dumbfounded. Now, got to give you a little bit of background on myself. I am an amp guy through and through. I'm not the kind of guy who likes to do a lot of modeling, so I'm not into the whole Helix, Tone Master, neural thing. I just have not dug into that. But when I saw this Opus, I thought, okay, this is a product a guy like me might be able to figure out because I don't do menus and all that other stuff. So I thought, okay, let's give this a try. For $300, I think this is worth giving a go. I am so glad I did. I found so many neat things about this, but I don't think me sitting here rambling on about it's going to do any good. Let's jump over to the pedal board. What I'm going to do today is I'm going to plug this in. I am going to go direct into my camera, and I'm just going to start fiddling with knobs and show you how to set up your own preset in here to show you the versatility of what you can do with this. We're not going to talk a ton about all the different sounds it can make. There's lots of videos about that demo all the sounds, and they've tweaked them and post-processed them so that they sound amazing. I just want to show you the raw sound that this thing puts out that you can go and take and tweak and post-process all you want, but I just think what this brings you right out of the box is amazing. So let's go take a look at that and hear how it sounds through the camera. Okay, so for this experiment, we're just going to be playing through the Les Paul, and I'm going to take you through a couple different settings here, and I want to show you how this works. Now, there's lots of videos out there showing you how to use there's a Bluetooth app you can download for your phone. There's a computer app you can download. I'm not going to go through those today because part of what scares me with technology is that someday we're not going to have, Bluetooth's going to move on to some other thing. I like my pedals and my things that are similar to the Opus to be standalone, to be able to be used without an iPad or an iPhone or a computer. So I'm actually going to show you everything that impresses me about this device is built into the box. You don't have to use some fancy, crazy app. It's prettier if you use the app, but there's so much going on inside this box. I think we just have to dive in and I'll show you. So I'm just going to load up preset number 1 and let you hear how it sounds just by itself. Now I've edited this a little bit, just smoothed it out. It's just a real nice, basic, clean tone on mine. On the original, when it first came in, it had a little drive to it. But I want to show you how I did that. So this is the really cool part about this pedal. There is so much going on here. Two Notes has loaded the Opus with a ton of different cabinet simulators, IRs, and amps. And all you have to do to change a preset or edit it is there's just 2 knobs. They kept it very, very simple. To edit, you press this first knob down, and it's going to take you into the edit screen. The first thing you'll see is a mode which is dynamic IR loader, or you can change it. If you scroll it a little bit, it'll change to just regular IR loader, where you can bring your own IRs from the outside in and put them in here. For those of you that understand what I'm saying right now, that will mean something. For those of you who are newer to guitar or just don't mess around with IRs at all, don't worry about it. You don't need to know what I'm talking about. What you can just do is move right over to the first part of the effects chain, and right here you're going to see a noise gate. Now this is where it becomes really simple. All you have to do to start editing the parameters on your Opus is you just move over to this noise gate, and then you click on this button right here, and it's going to take you through a menu. And from this point on, this is going to walk you step by step to creating your own tone. So it starts off with the thing that says noise gate, and I know my thing is flashing right now. This isn't actually flashing in real life. There's something going on with the way a camera records these kind of screens. It makes it look like it's flashing, but don't worry, in real life it's not. So when you get to noise gate, you can choose to turn it off or on. And when it's on, you'll notice instantly you heard that background noise. It just went away. What's happening there is there's a little threshold thing here. So when I play, and when I stop playing, the noise will go away. Now what's really neat is this can learn the background noise by just clicking down this button one time. It's going to learn that noise and it'll set the threshold where it needs to be. Now you can do all sorts of different things with this. You can change it. I'm not going to mess with this too much, but you can change the level that this cuts off at. For this purpose, I think this is perfect. It doesn't fade out too hard. It just lets the notes ring out and then eventually it'll cut the sound off. Next, we'll go up to the next mode. And to do this, all I'm doing here is just rotating this knob. This knob will walk you through every single step just by twisting it left and right like that. So I'm going to twist it to the right and we'll get to our next mode. It says preamp, and our preamp's going to be on because that's our amplifier. And they've got different models. Now the Foundry series is based on a old Fender style amp. If we want to change that, we can go to the Foxy, which is based on a Voxy. Which you can hear breaks up a little bit easier, has a little bit more chime to it. We can edit all these settings on it. They also have a Albion, which is like an old Marshall. Here, a lot more gain on tap there. A Nifty 50, which is like an old, like EVH kind of 50-50. Now, none of these are going to sound real good right out the box. You have to do adjustments to them, but that's kind of the idea. And then Peggy is for people who play bass. It'll actually load up a bass response. I like to play in the Foundry. I think that just sounds absolutely beautiful. So let's go from the Foundry. We're going to go on to our next series here. We're going to move to the right. Now, here's our settings on the amp, and it's just like you would have on the front of the amp. You've got gain. Now, I've got the gain tapped out right now. So when I roll up the volume on my guitar here, I don't need that much gain. Let's bring that back here. We just turn this little knob, and it changes the parameters. Let's take it down to 50. That way is... not breaking up too bad. Sounds good there, okay? And then we could adjust our treble levels, we can adjust our mids, we can adjust our bass just like we would on an amp. So if we want to bring more bass in, I'm gonna bring it back just a little bit here, around the 56. And then after that, you go to the power amp section, and this is just like on an amp. There's a power amp section on an amplifier, and this is where tubes make a difference, and this, I think, is the geekiest and coolest part of the Opus. What they've done here is they've done tube modeling, and so you can go in. Now, this is a Fender amp. Traditionally, Fender amps had like 6L6s or 6V6s in there. You can tell it, no, I'd rather hear what a Fender sounds like with a KT88. A pair of them. You can change that if you want to go maybe a pair of EL30 or 84s. A little brighter. EL34s. And 6L6s. Here, that's the more traditional Fender tone. But then say we want to do something different. Maybe we just want it to be a single power tube, like an open-ended power tube. We can even do that. They have a KT88. So you hear it doesn't push as hard. Come back to EL84. EL34 a little warmer. And then over to 6L6. So you hear that 6L6 sounds a lot more like a traditional Fender. But that's the cool thing, is you can literally just change the tubes in a heartbeat. It's so freaking cool. So let's say we want to do a pair of 6L6s. Then we can come in here and we can also adjust the volume that those come at, how saturated they sound. Makes it a little more chimey the more volume we put in. You can control the contour, and what this does, basically, if it's all the way washed out, so you're not hearing the warmth of the tube. I would kind of call this like a warmth knob. The more you introduce it, you're introducing the warmth of that tube. I'm gonna turn my volume down just a little bit. And then the depth brings that warmth up a little bit. Cool, right? All right, now what's our next setting? We go to the mics, and this is where they've got emulated cabinets. So you can change the cabinet. I love this Pete Thorne Signature 15, but you can change it to a 4x12. And you can hear there's lots of changes. That one sounds nice because it's kind of a Fendery blonde. We'll come back to that in a second. This is more like what you would use on a Marshall. So there's tons of different IRs in here. You can load your own impulse responses to create your own cabinet. Well, let's just do a blonde 63 because that's obviously a Fender type tone. And then you can go over to the next section and it allows you to change your mics. You can do dynamic microphones. You can do like a old bass 52. You can go all the way to the right and you do condenser microphone. There's the ribbon mics, and let's do like a ribbon and maybe a SM57. That's a pretty traditional. Good, that sounds good. Then we'll go back, you can change the levels of those microphones, so maybe I want my condenser to be a little louder than my SM57. Warm it up, or maybe I want that to be a little less loud. We can do that too. So super easy. You can just turn this down left and right like that. The more we turn this down, now we're just hearing that SM57. Now we're bringing the condenser up. A little beefy there. Let's see. Good. All right. Now we go over here. And we can even mute those individual things if we want to at certain times. We can do all sorts of crazy things. And then you can go even further. You could change the axis of how that microphone is placed next to the speaker and move it around so you can hear what different... See if it's dead on, how it gets kind of saturated. We can move it off axis a little bit around 37 degrees. That sounds really nice. And then you can add a little bit of distortion to there if you want to. You can really overload the mic if you want. I like to bring it a little bit closer. I don't like it too far away. The closer you get, the more distorted it's going to sound because this distance is all about like... bring it back just a little bit. So see, you can change distance, you can change the movement. It is amazing how far you can go with this. And then you've even got an EQ in here, so you can custom make your own EQ. You can change the low pass filters. You can change the frequencies on there. So just by turning this up, we change our shelves, our EQ shelves. We can kind of raise those up. It is insane how much is in here. I'm not going to mess with that too much right now. They have tone enhancers, so you can, if you're playing, see, you can just change that sound so much. There's just so many different ways for you to enhance this. Then they included onboard reverb that you can change the wet, dry, wet, wet, and dry signal. So you hear a little bit of that. If I crank this, so there's tons of different levels in here. Isn't that cool? I'm gonna take it to around 35 for this. You can even change like the sound of those to more of an ambient type. They have several different reverbs built in here, and based on how you have it set up, will give you that sound. So that is basically it. There's all those different variations. You can change them. You can change your sounds. And then when you're done, you just click the button again and you can scroll over. There's a save button. You just click on that and then type in the name you want, hit save, and it saves it to it. And that's your new preset. Now, I am not doing anything else. This is going direct into my camera. I've got this feeding straight into the camera, and you're getting the sound coming right out of this. just absolutely gorgeous. Okay, so now what we're going to take a look at is my favorite part of this pedal. I've switched over to my Grant Batson acoustic guitar, which just has passive pickups in it, no extra power, an EQ or anything on here. And right now I've got this in tuner mode, which basically makes it bypass. So I'm just running direct into my camera right now. I'm going to play you what that sounds like by itself. Okay, nothing fancy here. Now let's exit out of this and let's go into our acoustic section. So there's a whole section in here on acoustic guitar that, rather than using amplifiers, what it uses is impulse responses based on recorded guitars rather than recorded cabinets to give you this really nice sound. And what you can do is you can still apply your EQs, your reverbs, your preamps, all those things that we looked at earlier. We can mix that into the sound. And so I just did a little tweak to make my Batson sound like this. Absolutely beautiful. And what's crazy is this still picks up all of your picking dynamics. If I take my headphone off, what I'm hearing through my left ear and my right ear, very similar. And it doesn't matter where I play. If I play above the bridge here, I can still hear those weird notes. I can play right above the bridge, still hear the snappiness of that. And then when I'm playing throughout, here as I play further up the neck, those bassy notes just get bassier, just like they would if you were playing in the room. This is as close to a true mic'd cabinet sound as I've ever, a mic'd guitar sound as I've ever heard from an emulation pedal. This is amazing. It just takes your sound, processes it, and just gives it all the oomph that you need to make this gorgeous, gorgeous direct-in sound that you could find on any album out there. So for acoustic guitar players, to me, this is a no-brainer. The amount of versatility that you have in this is absolutely amazing. Now I'm using the preamps on here, but I can even go into here and I can go over to my settings and I can change it just like I would in the others. I just scroll over to my preamp and turn it off. Turn it back on. Really change the sound, and there's a ton of different sounds in there. Again, playing with all those different filters, the EQs, everything, you could tweak your sound to the nth degree. And when you consider, like, if you buy a LR Baggs direct box plus an EQ plus a reverb, you're talking about spending almost $1,000, where this gives you all of this in one box. So just from the acoustic ability alone, I say this box is a slam dunk. It is absolutely amazing. I know that was a short little demo, but do you see what I mean? There's so many cool raw sounds coming out of this. This is not the end all be all. I am not saying like I'm going to start using this instead of recording through my 2 amps. No, tube amps. It's not what I'm meaning at all. This is a great practice tool, and this is a great direct recording tool. I am still a tube amp guy. I'm still going to play through tube amps whenever I can. But if I'm on the road traveling and maybe I've just got a little travel guitar with me, this is going to come with me everywhere I go because I can practice with it. I can try different sounds out. And quite frankly, if I was just plugging this into a laptop and recording with it, I think you could actually write good music using it and get a really clear, crisp sound that you can then take back and post-process and create this beautiful music with. I am super, super impressed with this. And the idea that I can add more IRs later, because I do use a lot of York IRs in some of my direct recording, And I think those loaded onto here are going to be magnificent. So I'm very excited about that as well. But like I said in the video, for those who aren't into IRs and direct recording and digital stuff, don't worry about it. You don't need to know any of that. You literally never have to plug this into a computer or use your iPhone or your iPad. You can use this straight out of the box, plug it right into any interface or into a camera, just like I did back behind me, and you can record yourself playing like that. No other things required to do. And that, to me, for $300, that's perfect. If I was just going to go out and play in a coffee shop and I wanted to plug into a laptop and plug right into their speaker system or something, this thing will let me do all of that right there. And for $300, I don't have to lug around an amp with me. I can just make some beautiful clean tones, and especially the cleans, that Fendery clean. It sounds like a Fender guitar. You can set the reverb up on it. You can even plug a pedal into this if you want to have a little tremolo or something else. I'm blown away. I think for the money, not only would I personally buy this, I think with Christmas coming up, if you've got any guitarists in your life, especially acoustic guitarists or bass players, or people that you wanted to get something for that they wouldn't quite think to buy themselves, I would highly recommend this. And again, I'm not a shill for Two Notes. They didn't pay me a thing to say this. They don't know I'm making this video. I did this of my own accord because I like the product and I'm impressed by it. So I highly recommend it. I think it's going to be fun. Is it perfect? No. Are the sounds, do they sound just like they would in a room? No, absolutely not. It's still a digital recording tool, but that's some of the best emulation I've ever heard, especially that Fender tone. I'm super impressed. And the acoustic direct in, the potential for that, being able to set your own EQ. You get an EQ, you get a reverb, you get a preamp, and you get a direct in for $300. Forget the rest of the pedal. That paid for itself right there. If you're an acoustic player, that is the best pedal you can buy. I promise you, it'll be worth your investment for that alone. Well, I hope that all makes sense. Next week, we're going to be taking a little deep dive at another new pedal from a local Kansas City maker, and it's awesome. It's tiny, it's small, and it is called the Uno, and I am so impressed by it. I wanted to show it to you guys because I think it's something different, something unique, and something really inexpensive, but really awesome. So join me next week. We'll take a deep dive onto that. And until then, I want to thank my friends over at Palen again for hosting the channel. I really appreciate all that you do. I'll put a little link down to them down below. And for those who have some time, please join me on Instagram over at What's This Button Do Dustin. I'll put a little link down below. There's going to be a lot of really fun content coming over the next couple of weeks. A couple of new Fidelity guitars are on the way. We're going to be posting some demos of that. There's actually a little sneak preview of that right now. Blake Weiland from the Tone Mob actually had one of my guitars and was playing it and did a little demo. So I shared a link to that. It is awesome. You got to go check it out. So if you get a chance, hop over there, take a listen. And then I hope to see you back here next week. Thank you so much for coming out tonight. Take care and have a wonderful day, and we'll see you then.